Welcome to Geektionary. My name's Corey Hales, and this is the geekiest podcast you'll probably ever hear, where I will try to teach you, along with my friends, about the nerdier things in life. Let's talk about it. Alright, so this is the letter F, Furries. I'm here with Caitlin again due to popular demand and availability, due to most of my friends being useless and unwilling to help. There's a potential scheduling problem that was going on because Caitlin worked all day today, and I asked my friends if any of them would be willing to, even if they came up with another topic that started with F, anyone that would be willing to take her place. And I had a lot of people telling me how they wanted to. But couldn't, or wouldn't, or were too scared, or anything like that. Yeah. So I kind of flipped out on them, calling like, I don't care if you can't do it. That doesn't help me at all. Don't tell me. It does not matter. It doesn't change anything. It just irritates me further.
Pretty much.
And, Caitlin was kind enough, after a terrible day at work, to come back and do this for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know. Why they pay me the big bucks.
Yeah. So, furries. Before I get into this, I find furries for the most part creepy. I think that's kind of a general thing. Uh-huh. I have a reason. I was, when I was very young, I was visiting my cousins, and they were having a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese. And one of my cousins kept on harassing Chucky. And at one point when he stopped harassing him and we gathered around for pizza, Chucky attacked me.
What?
When I was very young, and it terrified me. I find if I see mascots on TV, I'm fine, but if I see them in person, I have to cross the street. I have to get out of the way.
What, did he straight up punch you in the face or something?
I was standing there and he came up and he grabbed my head with both arms.
For what it's worth, having been a mascot, it's fucking hard to see.
You were a mascot?
Yes, I was. I was Barney.
Really?
At one point, yes.
With the costume and everything?
Yep.
Oh, God.
Yep. I used to volunteer, that's all I'll say.
Okay. Jesus.
It's fucking hard to see.
Well, the thing is, he knew I was there, because it wasn't like he wasn't zombie walking over to me, just suddenly hugging of my head. If people are unsure about what a furry actually is, the definition is generally accepted as people interested in fictional anthropomorphic animal characters with human personalities and characteristics. Which basically Bugs Bunny. If Bugs Bunny... Well, yeah, Bugs Bunny, period. Because he's anthropomorphic. He's a rabbit. Foghorn, Leghorn, Porky Pig, Donald Duck, anything like that.
Basically, yeah.
And for a lot of people that consider themselves furries, that is where it ends. Mm-hmm. Or they might be. They did a survey, staying away from porn sites. They did a survey of people regarding furry behavior, and I think over 50% were sexually attracted to anthropomorphized animals. Mm-hmm. Which I think it mainly just comes to that fox has big tits.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
I think. Although, we'll probably get into the creepier side of this later. Mm. But, having frequented the internet for more than one day in my life, I come across artists or art enthusiasts that are really, really into DuckTales porn.
Oh.
Stuff like that. And just because it's
they have to do that much less work. As opposed to creating...
And it's not even it's less anthropomorphic kind of humanoid and more just the straight up cartoon.
Yeah, Robin Hood, Disney's Robin Hood, with him as a fox.
Oh, I like that one.
It's a great movie, but it's considered, that furries consider that one of the primary origins, as well as Kimba the White Lion, which was the original Lion King before Disney very blatantly ripped it off.
Yeah, well, Disney.
And Watership Down,
which
is something I know vaguely what it's about. I never read it, never watched any movie or anything. But it's about rabbits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to steal from the farmer.
I don't know. It's so long.
Yeah.
I just remember it being really depressing. really depressing.
Yeah, it was a harsh. Well, they're rabbits. Rabbits tend to get torn apart by almost every other animal
Pretty
that
much,
they
yeah.
encounter, other
Yeah.
than like sparrows and
They don't
stuff.
have a flight or a fight instinct.
No, it's just
It's
flee
all
because they
flight.
will lose. The thing is, if you ever tried to act like, let's say, you found a hare or just a wild rabbit and
Mm-hmm.
you tried to pick them up, they would kick you and scratch you and bite you. They will fucking
You
fight.
wouldn't even catch it. You'd have to run pretty fast.
Like, let's say you had a cage and then like was trying to empty the cage.
Yeah.
Like, they're still wild animals. They will try if as much as the rabbit could put in the place, it would try to kill you,
Yeah.
which is an interesting mental image,
Yeah.
and it would probably not be very
Imagine
effective.
somebody dying by a rabbit.
God,
Death by
he
rabbit.
was killed by a bunny. Um, thing about furries, which I was not surprised to find out, 80% of them are male,
Yeah.
which,
It's
yeah,
all yeah, but there's the fetish side of it, right? It's
yeah.
like a kink. So
It's not, the thing is that that's the primary focus, is that people think that all furries are strictly into
like
sex.
erotic, yeah.
Yeah, erotic stuff, and a lot of
Yeah.
people are just fascinated with anthropomorphic animals, and they tend to watch like
Yeah.
they enjoyed cartoons more
Yeah.
typically.
Yeah.
Like,
I understand.
it was a confusing cartoon as a kid. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Don't even get me started on that
Jessica
shit.
Rabbit
What the?
was amazing.
Yeah, she was.
And
Let's just, you know what? Nothing else needs to be said because everybody knows
yeah,
what she looks
the
like.
thing is, like I'm not a lot older than you. Well, the healthy part of a decade older than you.
Wow.
And there's kids that are going to be being born and going into life not knowing about Roger Rabbit or even friggin' Disney's Robin Hood.
I think it's a parent's responsibility to teach them of the cool movies and the things that shape you
Yeah,
culturally, like Robin Hood. That was very important
this
to
is a very
me
this
as
is
a kid. It was one of my favorite movies.
hmm
It was just amazing.
yeah,
I just love it.
yeah. It was.
I just had an epiphany. You know what else is great?
Huh.
Is the Great Mouse Detective,
Yeah.
which was
Oh,
the mouse version of Sherlock Holmes, and it was pretty much the greatest thing ever in my life.
they made a sequel, right? That was, or was that? No, The Rescuers. That's what I'm
That
thinking
was The
of.
Rescuers,
And then The
yeah.
Rescuers Down Under, which is the superior film. But
Yeah.
let's get way too classy about this.
Yes.
One thing about Roger Rabbit, which I think is such an important thing for kids these days, is it had moments in it which were legitimately horrifying. Christopher Lloyd, he was the main bad guy in it,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember when he takes off his glasses and he's got those crazy bulging eyes, and then when he dies, he dissolves like not Wicked Witch of the West, Wizard of Oz type dissolve, but
Yeah.
Raiders of the Lost Ark dissolve, you know?
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
was it was terrifying. And yet, as a kid, you need to have movies which, for the most part, are good. But then there's
Mm-hmm.
one moment which, when you leave, you're like, I liked most of that except for the part that makes me feel cold inside.
Yeah. Kind of
uh,
like The Dark Crystal, or like The
Labyrinth,
Labyrinth,
Legend,
Legend.
um,
Oh, yeah,
Pee
Legend.
Wee's Big Adventure. Did you ever see that?
I'm a little young for that.
Do you know about the Large Marge scene?
No.
Pee Wee is hitchhiking along, and somebody pulls over, and this lady picks him up, and they start driving. And she's not responding to any of his conversation, and then she just starts talking about, like, years ago on this road, a school bus tipped, blah blah blah, like
Yeah.
this ghost story.
Yeah.
It's like, and when they found the body, it looked like this, and then she turns her head to the camera, and they did this claymation thing where her eyes bulged and her mouth like tore open with crazy teeth and this floppy tongue.
What?
Fucking horrifying, and it comes out of nowhere. It was so fucking scary.
Well, as a kid, sure, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I, you know what, I relish in those moments,
Huh.
being terrified as a kid because we're a horror movie buffs now.
Yeah, yeah.
So, really, like, God, what have they done to us?
Yeah. It's I think it's a very important part of growing up though. You need to realize that at any moment something terrible could happen.
Yeah,
Things might be seeming cool, but then or
but
like Willy Wonka with the tunnel
oh my
and the
God,
chicken getting its head cut off, which
yeah,
they edit out of a lot of the
yeah.
versions now, which I remember seeing that and being, why is this happening?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's so
what the hell
fucking
happened?
scary.
Where am I?
Do you have any horror stories regarding furries? Or just maybe not so much horror, or maybe just like unsettlement, some point where you saw something regarding furries, which I'm going to just assume it was sexual, and made you just deeply unhappy for a while.
Well, not to divulge everything that's happened in my life, but
Were you yiffed? Yiff is
yeah,
furry speak for fuck.
yeah. Um, Basically every furry, well, I should say every, because I have a couple friends who are furries and they're normal for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
But the bad ones I've known are really bad. They're just disgusting people,
Like,
and they have no sense of personal boundaries whatsoever.
have you been approached by any, like, in a fursuit or anything?
Not in a fursuit, out of fursuit, but there's this thing called partials where it's not like a full fursuit, but it's like the tail and the feet
Oh,
paws and the hand
yeah.
paws and the ears or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ew.
Just
Shut up, Myra. Shut up.
Meow.
I'm cat sitting for a friend, and his cat is extremely vocal.
All right. No, I've been approached by people
Uh-huh.
who are wearing partials or whatever, and they just really propose the most disgusting things, and it really gives you a sense of how little they've left their basement.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I would never, even if I were that. Thanks, Myra. Um,
Shut up, Myra. Jesus Christ. It's
all
not,
right.
the cat is not being abused. It's just constantly
Very meowy
vocal.
cat.
Yeah, very meowy,
Come
constantly
on, come
screaming.
on. Well, anyway, cat aside, it really gives you a sense of.
Like the majority of their sexual history involves a keyboard kind of thing.
Yeah, or dressing up as an animal, or
Yeah.
pretending to be something. It's just really weird. It's like some alternative side to role play that is just not common.
Yeah. Didn't you? Yeah, you were the one that told me you used to partake in a role play, it was strictly role playing online thing where you were a wolf.
Oh, wolf home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. A while ago,
You were very young.
back in the olden days,
Yeah.
when I was like 12, there was this site, it still exists, called Wolf Home, and it's this chat room kind of thing where you role play as a wolf,
Mm-hmm.
and you have your avatar, and it's kind of cool because you get to customize your wolf pose and stuff like that, and pick the color of your wolf, and you
What
can
color
join.
was yours?
I varied,
Okay.
green or something
Oh,
ridiculous.
okay.
Whatever.
I'm sorry.
It's fantasy, Corey.
I know.
Um, and you can join packs and stuff like that. And it was kind of cool.
That's cool.
I met some cool people, and I met some not so cool people on there.
Mm-hmm. The thing is regarding the furry subculture, that is a definitive part of furry subculture. So you could be, like you said, you're a partial. I think you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not all furries are about dressing up like baseball mascots, going to hotel rooms and screwing each other through well-placed holes in the costume.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's actually not. It's one of the less common things because it is weird.
Yeah, totally.
And the thing is, though, is if it's ever displayed in media, that is always the thing that's shown. Like a lot of people know about furries because of CSI. There was an episode, I think.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Everybody got all up in a tizzy about it because it doesn't accurately represent the subculture, which may or may not be true.
Yeah, I can't say for sure. I've never. I do know a furry. A friend of mine, well, more of an acquaintance, works for Disney and actually went to Anthrocon 2012 with her own costume based on a character that she made, and didn't go for fuck purposes.
Yeah, well,
Like,
sure. There's a huge divide between the people who fetishize it and people who just
who just like
really love. anthro characters and just really love pretending to be something else,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
But because of what it is, I actually think that I would probably be considered even a partial, simply because I do very much enjoy like Disney's Robin Hood and all these I like the
Of
anthropomorphic things.
course,
It
of
was
course.
such a thing of my childhood. Bugs
Mm-hmm.
Bunny, Donald Duck,
Mm-hmm.
Mickey Mouse, all that stuff, and I do still watch a lot of cartoons.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Most of it has less to do with funny animals, but
yeah.
even so, you
All the
know.
cool kids watch cartoons.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the actual costume is not just called a mascot suit. It's actually just called fursuit because
Mm-hmm.
it makes sense, and they can actually be extremely complicated, like with
Actually,
animatronic parts and stuff like
oh
that.
yeah,
Yeah, prosthetics.
I've gone to Odafest pretty much every year
Mm-hmm.
since I started going.
Odafest is
It's an anime
okay.
convention. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty small,
Yeah.
you know. Be nice. You could get some more going on, but whatever. It's a festival.
Mm-hmm.
Can't
Mm-hmm.
complain. But I've seen some amazing costumes built by their creators, and they just make every piece themselves, and
Mm-hmm.
some of it's so intricate that I'm just so impressed because I wish I had that kind of talent,
Yeah. Yeah.
honestly.
Have you heard of that documentary that came out? Comic-Con episode 4, A Fan's Hope.
No.
It follows some people that want to be artists, some dealers.
Hmm.
One of them is a cosplay group who've made costumes all based on Mass Effect.
That's
One
awesome.
of the costumes is Grunt,
Hmm.
the Krogan,
Hmm.
and it's fully animatronic head, and like it's wired to his face basically.
Yeah.
It looks fucking amazing, and it's so it's so amazing to see that people that do this strictly out of a passion. They weren't being paid. They did it because they wanted to.
Yeah,
Just to
exactly.
see that, I would consider the Krogan as being technically a fursuit
Yeah.
because it involves being another species which doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was it's a it's a it's a decent documentary. There's
Hmm.
some cool interviews and pictures. You get to see all sorts of stuff, and
Hmm.
the it also makes you feel as a geek a little better about yourself because like you're like I like comics. I'm not going to get there at 6 in the morning and then run to booths to get limited edition shit.
Yeah.
If I went to
No.
Comic Con, I'd be like, I'm happy just to be here.
Yeah.
I'm very sweaty. There's a lot of fat people here, probably. Horrible, horrible people, and a lot of Princess Leia's.
But you
We talked
can't
to.
you can't complain. You
No,
can't
no,
complain.
because I would be there, and I would. I honestly think I would probably cry a little just to be
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's nerd mecca, and
Yeah.
yeah. But one thing that really bothers me about hipsters and people that are like super trendy is like the cat ears that you see girls wearing around,
Yeah.
or it's like a hat that goes down and has paws, which is better. But again, like if you're wearing that in the middle of summer, to me it seems more like a winter thing. And the worst though would be the fur tails, because
Yeah.
that never looks good. Can't say it without using a negative term, which I'm trying to not say on this podcast
Oh
because I've already said some things which could be construed as sort of racist.
no. What have you done?
Nothing. It to me, it does not look good. There's no one that looks good on it unless it's a hot chick that's naked, essentially. Because then it's just
Corey.
like, yay, hot chick that's naked.
Corey Hales.
What?
Jesus Christ.
Ladies are nice.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
I
you were making some interesting faces when I was discussing the things that I hate.
Yeah.
I know you want that fur hat with the
The
paws.
spirit hood, I think they're
Spirit
cute.
hood.
I think they're cute. I don't know.
It depends
I
very
agree with
much.
your summer thing. Like wearing them in summer is kind of weird,
Yeah, it would be
but
like wearing it. Like I tend to wear multiple shirts simply because it's just what I do the majority of the year. So when summer comes around, I tend to forego comfort for a different type of comfort. I hate you. Yeah, but like it seems like a very warm piece of clothing.
Mhm.
And
It is
yeah,
super warm.
yeah.
But
What do you think of it? Just like those ear headband things.
oh, like the cat ear headband.
Yeah.
I'm a weeaboo, so I'm like on
Yeah.
the fence here.
Okay.
Uh, I don't know. I think they can be cute, but I think they're so overdone now that
It's lost it.
to wear them in public
Hmm.
without a purpose. You're not going to a convention or anything. You're not dressed up as anything. I just think it's totally weird.
What was special about it has been taken away simply because of the oversaturation, is what you're saying,
Yeah,
essentially?
a little bit.
I made
That's
that. I
pretty
made that
eloquent.
sound fucking classy.
That's pretty eloquent. I'm impressed.
Yeah,
I
like
know, Myra. It's sad.
um, you mentioned. Did you mention persona earlier?
Oh,
Maybe
yeah, before we
that was
started
before we
recording.
started.
Um,
My first what's the word? Exposure to the term persona was there's a podcast called the F Plus where people read with enthusiasm some of the worst things they can find on the internet. One of the things but a persona is a person's soul animal. Like a lot,
yeah,
some of them it just comes to the point where like with your wolf home thing, your persona was that wolf.
yeah, for the
That
time
is
being.
often where it begins and ends. But there's some people who think that they literally have the souls of animals.
Yeah.
One of the things that F Plus read was a person asking on a persona forum. I've always felt a very strong kinship with Robin Williams' character Mork from Mork and Mindy. And he's like, is it possible to have a persona of a fictional character from a TV show? Some people that responded to him were absolutely outraged. How dare he feel some sort of kinship with someone from a TV show? But
Yeah.
the most kind response was a person who then proceeded to educate him on what persona was. But then she said that her persona, she's like, you can't have a persona of a fictional character from a TV show because they don't exist. My persona is a dragon that was a slave for 1,000 years. See, it's okay to be a dragon because they're real.
But you can't be more.
Can't be more because that's not real. Like
Yeah. Well, that's
how
not fair.
dumb are you?
Well, it's so weird because there's a separation from the persona, which is basically like feeling. It's almost like a spirit animal, or you feel some sort of kinship with a species.
That I can understand.
And otherkin, where you actually think you're a species.
Oh yeah, you
in
told
another
that.
person's body, and I just think it's just gotten so overcomplicated. It surpassed a subculture and just went straight into uh,
Something else.
something else entirely.
Yeah, that's the thing I was trying to remember. Me and Caitlin had discussed this a couple months ago, and I'd never heard of Otherkin before. And the main difference between Otherkin and Persona, like with Persona, you can have the soul of, say, a dragon or a dog or whatever, but you're a human.
Yeah.
You're a dog that soul has turned into a human soul, essentially.
Basically, to put it in simple terms, is a persona is a persona of you. So just an avatar or whatever, or personality that you make.
I'm talking about
a species that you like.
The persona thing that I was talking about was the people that legitimately believe they have animal souls, whereas otherkin are people who believe they are basic. It's essentially like the same as a transsexual, except it'd be a transspeciest. I guess. Because as opposed to a man who's trapped in a woman's body, it's a dog who's trapped in a woman's body type thing.
I don't even know. Honestly, I try to educate myself
on the most horrible things in existence.
Yeah, God bless the internet, eh?
Yeah.
But sometimes you can only do so much.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly.
Yeah, it's I can't even. Like, I understand spirit animals. I guess persona it could be a synonymous term.
Well, it's just basically all I see it is you're just making
another character. It's just
you're just making a character. You're just making a character to play.
Like in Dungeons and Dragons or something like that.
Yeah, and you're taking the traits of an animal that you admire, like a cat, as demonstrated by Myra.
Screaming. I learned about something called furry lifestylers, which are the ones that I believe those are the ones that are the people with the personas. because they've made it such a part of their lifestyle. It's not like, oh, every year I get to dress up as a bear and go to a convention center with other bear people. And it's, I don't know. Like, I've seen, like you said, the internet's both a great and horrible place. I've seen a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah.
It's just something about people dressed as wolves and dragons.
Just out at the mall.
Yeah, it really, really upsets me. And I know after the research I did and my desperate attempt to not just immediately write them off as being nuts, I understand the appeal, but I don't get dressing up as something. I do, I understand like the power of wearing a mask. Like, because when you have a mask, even though you're still you, you have that sort of anonymity.
Yeah.
Even if other people know, as we've seen, but fucking anonymous. Yeah, like it's not the same as anonymous, but at the same time, it's the power of the mask with something covering your face and something covering your entire body. Even if you go full bore, you have that small bit of power. You can be someone else because no one knows who you really are.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, yeah, it's...
You can be literally whoever you want to be, which is interesting in the sense of persona because some people have different personas, you know.
Like multiple personas?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have multiple characters that they like to play, and each of them have their own distinct personalities, which I think is kind of cool. You can be somebody new every day.
Yeah, yeah. It's it kind of reminds me, it seems to me like a mashup between Native American culture and the whole animals having spirits and all that stuff. And the Japanese culture and the whole excess of cosplay, like cosplay to a bizarre kind of level.
Yeah.
And I would never ever cosplay because with with a lumpy body like mine, whatever I dress up would make people sad. Like the comic convention that comes to Calgary, I make fun of people so bad, but I know if I was in their position, I'd know people were making fun of me too. Like you'd see Lumpy Flash, Lumpy Batman, Joker who's just kind of given up on life.
I believe we found a Phaladan. Phaladan?
I don't know what that is.
It's Illidan from WoW. He's a character.
Okay.
And this one guy. I'm sorry if it's you that I'm talking about, but next time maybe don't wear one of those stuffed muscle suits if you're gonna cosplay a buff character. Just because it looks ridiculous in every instance imaginable, and I just I just couldn't.
Yeah, there is a difference though between the people that dress up like the Flash or Batman and are lumpy and don't wear the suit properly because like you can tell some people are trying to be like I look like the Flash despite this giant strawberry blonde beard poking out the bottom of the mask. But then there's the people that will go as Fat Superman. Like the shirt part doesn't cover their gut, which is a disgusting and horrible costume, but at the same time, you kind of need to respect them because of the confidence that you need to have to do that.
Yeah,
that is confidence I will never have.
Yeah.
Despite my obvious arrogance and apparent gigantic ego that most people seem to think I have because of this podcast, I have such low confidence.
Bro.
I know.
Maybe you should get a fursuit.
Yeah, the majority of them, when polled, majority of furries, not people with personas, just furry, the whole sub-community, subculture thing, do, like, I think it's, I want to say 80% because of the statistic I mentioned earlier, but the majority of them are worried that, and I think this was from one of their magazines, because there's fucking Knitting Today, stuff like that, which seems like a pointless magazine. But anyway, they did a poll, and the majority of people don't want furry culture to be displayed in the media because they're all concerned it will only be the kinky sexual thing. And that whole kinky sex party thing, which I'm going to assume isn't the norm, furries have kind of tainted the rest of geek culture if there's a convention of some sort. People will see people dressed up as these animals going to these things, and in their head, because it's their only experience with them, they think, well, after this, they're probably going to be going to a hotel room and fucking, well dressed as their animal things.
Yeah.
And so if you go to any of these things, you're kind of lumped in with them. It's like he's not wearing a costume now, or
But
like
he will be later.
or like he might not be he might not be a furry, but he's probably got some weird kinky sex thing going on.
Yeah. I
And
mean, I just think it's kind of, you never know who's behind the mask, right?
yeah,
You
it's
know.
culture profiling.
Yeah, culture profiling.
Yeah, it's not racial profiling or sexual profiling.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Did we just make up a
I
term?
think so, and I think it's a legitimate term. It happens with everybody. You see a dude wearing with the pop collar and the frosted tips, you immediately assume he's a douchebag because 90% of the time he is a douchebag. But
Yeah.
that's culture profiling,
Yeah.
and we're all guilty of that.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I love
Yeah.
getting serious like that.
Yeah.
It sounds like the more you know with the star going across the
Struck at
screen.
very PC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, I say this, yet at the same time, I will be judging people left and right all the time. It's because it entertains me. And
I
I,
know. I know.
yeah, you do it
How many
too.
digs have you made at me
At
since
you?
we met?
Not that many.
Yeah,
I
true.
do mock you being a weeaboo occasionally,
Yeah.
but not
Hey,
that.
I don't pretend to be Japanese.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, oh,
At
okay.
least.
There's the Saturday Night Live sketch that they have occasionally with the two hardcore weeaboos who know nothing of Japanese culture except for what they've kind of learned from anime
Good.
and terrible, terrible J-pop.
I had
I'm not saying all J-pop is terrible.
no. That's
And so, yeah, if you're listening and you're still unclear as to what a weeaboo is, because I'm aware that's not an extremely common term,
mm-hmm.
a weeaboo is a usually white person obsessed with Japanese culture.
So much so that they will go so far as to pretend to be Japanese
Yeah,
or
they do
speak.
the fucking peace symbol and at the angle like I'm doing
Yeah.
right now. If you could
Yeah.
see the picture, you'd be like, "What a jerk!" Or e- I almost said something very racist, but
You know, I actually, to give you some background, I
Mhm.
guess, I had a Japanese culture class
Mhm.
because I happen to like Japanese culture
Which is fine.
since grade 4, pretty much. So I think I'm justified in my liking of it. Um, I had this guy in my class. He was horrible. The first day, we watched a video about Akihabara,
Which is
who, if you don't know, it's the electronics district in Tokyo, and
okay,
it's huge and it's amazing and it's
like cell
awesome.
phone stores.
Cell phone stores, cameras, video games, everything.
Cool.
So you can literally find everything there. So and this cute Japanese girl was telling us all about Akihabara
Mm-hmm.
in this video. He got a nosebleed 2 minutes after and had to run out, and he was like, for people who aren't anime fans, the nosebleed is the joke of anime.
Okay.
Basically, it means you're getting an erection. Yeah.
So this guy has watched so much anime that did he actually have a nosebleed, or was that his excuse?
No, it just spontaneously appeared. He had blood running down his face. No warning whatsoever. He wasn't even picking. Wasn't even picking. And like, he just, and I thought it was so ironic that he would be a huge weeaboo. He dresses up like,
does he have like the like
to college in anime stuff. And
is his hair standing up, or does he have one gigantic, almost emo bang?
Hair.
Oh, a ginger weeaboo. That's fantastic.
I'm sorry, gingers, but this got stop. You're making us look bad.
One thing about the term weeaboo is that it originates from something that has nothing to do with Japanese culture. It came from a comic called the Perry Bible Fellowship, which you can see online.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing was it's a comic where these people are talking about, okay, look, we need to get some work done. We can't keep wasting our time with weeaboo. And it's like, oh, you know the first rule of weeaboo. And so they paddle him while yelling the word weeaboo. That is the entire comic. It's a 3-panel thing. It's funnier than it sounds. And
As is all of Perry Bible Fellowship's comics.
Yeah, the thing is, weeaboo originally just meant an obsession with something that is a deliberate waste of time.
Yeah.
And that, which I can understand why people who are weeaboos would find the term offensive.
Yeah.
But what else are you going to call them? Yeah, there's like
you can't
it's
even
just
call
a
them
term.
nerds because they don't fit into the conventional nerd.
Some of them
definition.
say that it's a term that is as offensive as calling someone a wigger, which I call bullshit on because weeaboo doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Wigger is something that comes directly from an extremely horrible word.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's just us making light of something yet again.
And it's not like someone will get... I don't think... Like, if you see a weeaboo, I think the majority of the time, if they suffer a negative thing, it's people just, giggling behind their back. And at worst, maybe someone being like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah. Which happens to probably everyone at some point in life.
Honestly, being 14...
She's not 14 now. This was when she was 14.
Yeah, sorry guys. English is not... Clearly not my first language.
I just want to make it clear I'm not hanging out with 14-year-old girls.
All right.
Go on.
Being 14 and, discovering anime really for the first time and finding what I thought was a niche. I
want to punch that cat in the face.
It's just, and this cat made me lose my train of thought.
Okay, being 14, finding something which you thought was a unique...
I wish somebody had called me out. Is really what I'm...
So are you saying...
I did some things that I'm not proud of.
That sounds really bad.
No, it's just they were really embarrassing and, it's not socially acceptable to fight people over candy.
Oh, yeah, I had a friend who did that too during high school. Most of the time she was fine, but then she would come up and, she called it glomming.
Glomping.
Yeah, she'd glomp onto me, grab me and give me a small bite, and I'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? We're at school.
Disclaimer.
God damn.
Don't do that to people ever.
No.
Don't do that to people ever, ever.
Unless you are in a sexual relationship.
Yeah.
Because if you're not in a sexual relationship and someone comes up to you and starts putting their mouth all over you, it sends so many weird mixed signals.
Yeah.
It's really unpleasant.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't want to be bitten by someone at school.
It happened to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just don't do it. Disclaimer, weeaboos everywhere for people who are actually weeaboos. Mm-hmm. Don't do it. It's not worth it. You will get escorted off the grounds of the con if you do that.
Similar kind of thing that furries do is called scritching, which is they have so many weird terms. Scritching is basically light scratching, grooming type stuff. So if they come up to you and start going through your hair or beard, or just start nuzzling and doing weird shit, it is confusing and it is creepy. Don't do that unless you know they too are a furry and will respond properly.
Yeah, exactly.
Even then, don't do it in public.
Yeah, you have to. It's all about boundaries, people. It really just comes down to that. Don't do anything that you wouldn't do to your grandma, okay?
Exactly, yeah. It's not just a matter of awkwardness. It's, to me, a matter of respect. Not just of yourself, but of the people around you.
Exactly. God, this kitty's loud.
I know. It's of the episodes, at least it was this one.
Of course.
That we have a cat screaming in the background occasionally. Which, if I get any feedback from this from people I don't know, they're going to probably accuse me of abusing this cat, especially after saying I wanted to punch her in the face.
I promise you, she's just a really angry meower.
Yeah,
I am petting the shit out of her right now.
Yeah, she will meow how many times a minute when things are fine? 7, 10? It's a lot.
Pretty much.
It's, annoying little cat. Sweet, tiny little head. Giant, chubby body. Screamer, little bastard.
Screamy cat.
Yeah, when I'd asked you earlier as to what the weirdest kind of furry-related thing that you saw was, that I was actually thinking of a specific thing I went to a comic convention. It wasn't the big one that comes here; it was a smaller one. And there was a person. Think of a person dressed as a gypsy, but they had a fox face, and it wasn't like a mascot fox face. It looked like a taxidermied fox head that they were wearing.
Yeah.
It was so unsettling because it looked real but really fake at the same time, and I just, oh god, I got like just saw her and got these cold shivers and had to leave because it bothered me. So it's like a person with a fear of clowns.
Yeah.
It I can't be around them. It's not like I'll start
Well, it's
crying.
kind of like uncanny valley, you know?
Yes.
It's just like you're really realistic, you're hyper realistic. It's one thing to make a cartoony fursuit where it's clearly a cartoon, but to make it super realistic or hyper realistic, you know, sometimes it crosses this line.
Yeah, it kind of goes into almost a horror movie kind of level. You know, it's just like this person could be a killer in some sort of B movie slasher.
Yeah. The Fox Killer.
Yeah, there's actually a series called Bunny Man. They just released their second movie where it's a guy in a bunny suit going around killing people with chainsaws and stuff. It's a terrible, terrible movie. Not because the Bunny Man, oh, excuse me, it's not because the Bunny Man is creepy. It's because it's just bad actors, bad effects, bad all this stuff.
Aww.
And then they made a sequel, which...
Well,
yeah.
You know what? Sometimes that happens. I mean, look at The Grudge 2.
I never saw any of the Grudge movies.
I saw all of the original ones, and I saw all of the remakes, and
with Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah, Gellar.
Gellar.
It's just not. It just wasn't a good remake. I'm sorry. Yeah. You know, I like them for what they are, but they're not. I like to judge it as a separate movie from the original.
A lot of times when Americans remake Japanese stuff, they lose focus of what made the first one creepy or scary. The Japanese have a very different view of ghosts. They have a very different view of horror movies.
Well, their spiritualism is so different. I mean, here it's generally Christian-based fear.
And if it is a ghost, it's a foreigner. It's something that goes against Christ. It's one of those two things. Yeah. It's either basically a demon or it's someone from another country who had the audacity to come to the United States and die. Which, yeah, but this is straying very much from furries. I don't have... We went through the notes fairly quickly and in a nice fluid way, but yeah, we're about at time too, though. Oh, so, any final thoughts on furries?
I don't think y'all are bad.
Yeah.
But I just think it doesn't matter to me if you are into the fetish side of it or the lifestyle side of it or whatever. It doesn't matter to me what you like. It really just depends on... It doesn't make a difference whether or not you're into furry fetish or you're into... I don't know, like wearing diapers or something, or just like doggy style or whatever. I wouldn't tell that to your mom at the dinner table. So don't tell it to people in public.
Yeah, don't.
You know? Keep it within the social norm, okay?
That's the thing with any kind of sex kink.
Yep.
You keep it to yourself unless you know for an absolute fact the person you're talking to will be fine with it. Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. But it's
you can't take that leap in the middle of a convention. It just doesn't work like that.
No. Like, yeah, it's the thing is the majority of furries aren't into the sex thing. Not many of them are. And I will shit talk furries and furrydom till the end of time. But the thing is, I was attacked by Chuck E. Cheese as a child. I have a reason. I don't, for the most part, I understand because I have weird interests too.
Yeah.
But you know, to each their own, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I like furries. I like the subculture. I think it's interesting. I love reading about it. I like the sense of community that they have. Yeah, but, you know, you just have to realize that it's not all bad. It's basically my message to you all. It's not all bad.
That sounds like the it gets better thing.
It gets better.
Well, I think that about wraps it up, and that's been Geektionary.